Howdy, folks, and welcome back to the Practical Microservices stream. Today is Thursday, and Thursday and Tuesday are going to be the days where I work on playing around with the Eventide examples and expanding them. In the meantime, I am just correcting the little notes here that say what we're doing. So today we are building a view data component to build an account list. So effectively we will be aggregating open events. This is not enough context. Let me do one other thing real quick. This off-screen stuff is probably really exciting to watch. So it's been a while since I actually updated the Nightbot here. So we are, what I'm looking for that I think would be swell is either ditch the little thing in the lower left of the screen that you can't see right now, but now you can because I just switched views, or find a way to keep them in sync between Nightbot and my local notepad here. All right, that is set there. So if you were to type exclamation point what doing, you would now see that what we're doing, which is the whole point of that. So let's see, up on the screen I have a diagram loosely inspired by event modeling that represents the messages that happen in the funds transfer component and account component examples. Let me pull those up real quick. So let's see, Eventide examples. Lovely that it knows me well enough to know I don't mean the audio framework. There is this account component and funds transfer component, and these are the sort of, how to say it, the examples of building a component. They illustrate basically all of the core mechanical concepts you would need to understand to successfully build components with Eventide. If you do the Eventide training, they are the code that you work on, and they're fine. There have been, like, could we have some other example components calls kind of a thing. Making really good official examples is a very time-consuming thing, though. I don't have the Twitch chat open. Let me open that. I had to reboot a computer today. That's strange. Who does that? Anyway, so we have like a few others for the Utah Microservices meetup. We did that composite video generator thing. Anyway, so I don't know, just gonna riff on what we have. We have these two components that produce these messages. In particular, we're going to be looking at the account component to make a list of open accounts. And I don't have the web application written for this yet. I'm hoping to find time to do some of that off stream so we don't have to sit there through the boring Rails bits. Not that Rails is boring, but there are bits that are. But we're going to start with the view data component. Just taking those account opened events and producing a table from them. And what I want to do a little bit differently was we did this with the user credentials aggregator, it's called. I'm trying to stop calling them aggregators. Why? Because I think it has not helped with people understanding what's going on. I'll sometimes hear questions about like, can I do X with an aggregator? And I'm not sure what the thought process was that arrived at asking, is that appropriate for an aggregator to do? At the end of the day, what I have been calling an aggregator, what it's called in Practical Microservices book, is it's just a component, right? Like let's have a look at, say, is it the code directory? It is. Look at that. Okay, so here we go. Let's open this. This is the book code right here. We have this aggregators folder here, and we have this admin users aggregator, as it's called. And here's the code that puts it all together. Now let's go open one of the components, say the identity components. I think I slurred my speech enough there that it sounded like I was saying a plural when I should have said a singular, and that I said a singular when I should have said a plural. But hey, here we are. So just like at a first glance, if we line up these build lines, you can see handler, subscription. Mechanically, an aggregator is a component that generates view data. And so I'm going to start calling them view data components because I want to highlight they're just a component. So they follow the same rules that components follow. The key difference is that components will sometimes carry out side effects and sometimes just record messages. Like the account component to open an account or to do a deposit or a withdrawal. Just writes a message. That's all it does. But there are other components like our send email one, in theory, would trigger sending an email with some provider for that. Maybe that's an SMTP server we run ourselves or some service like SendGrid. But the point is, it can do some kind of a side effect and write a message, but it still consumes. It subscribes to a category and it consumes batches of messages within that category. And that's exactly what an aggregator, better called a view data component, does. The only difference is when it handles those messages, it's producing view data. So in our case with the user credentials aggregator and all of the examples in Practical Microservices, that was just to execute queries on a relational database. We were using Postgres. Your view data could be anything you like. I like Greg Young's admonition, though, that the greater the number of distinct technologies you have in your stack, the greater your operational or accidental complexity will be. I think he used the word accidental there. And so, like, we want some standard to it. And so we're just going to do this with Postgres. But seriously, you could, like, if you had a page that you wanted to have a site, an app with some dynamic content, you could have a web application that reads from a database, view data that you've aggregated with a view data component. You could also literally just generate the HTML pages based on who the user is. Like, that's perfectly acceptable as well. I've never done that. And so when I say perfectly acceptable, I mean, it doesn't immediately violate the rules of what a view data a view data component is. But whether or not that's a good idea for your design is a different matter entirely. We focus on the possible, not the good ideas here. So that's not entirely true, I hope. So let's see here. Where is this diagram? It doesn't actually show the opens, does it? So the whole reason that I opened this file is completely unnecessary, right? This doesn't show open and close. Whatever, fine. Let's go have a look at the Eventide code here. Let's open this whole directory. Go to the account component, lib, account component, messages, events, open. These are the ones that we're after currently. The close would also be a good thing to have, because then if you wanted to see open accounts, then, you know, you wouldn't use closed ones. These are the properties we'll have to deal with. We have an account ID, we have a customer ID, the effective time that it was open, which could be different than when the message was recorded. And then you also have the process time, which is the time at which we process the open command to produce this event. So that's what we're doing. Yeah. So again, so just to summarize the things, we're going to make view data from the account component messages. I'm thinking just a table with certainly the account ID and the customer ID, because in theory, then in the web app, we could say, hey, show me only the accounts for customer, whatever. It might be fun, like over time, to expand this into more of a full working system, complete with registration and authentication. But building that sort of thing on stream doesn't seem very exciting because, you know, once you've done it once, it's oftentimes very similar going forward. I think it would be useful to expand this to have a balance. Remember, the balance shown in such a table would not be the authoritative balance, but it would be. I mean, balances don't change that quickly in the typical bank account, so it's useful as a just like an indication, kind of like the Pirates Code, a suggestion. So we've got the balance we'll want to show in there, which leads to an interesting point. When it was opened, that's a fine thing. Now here is something also that I'm going to do differently. So in practical microservices, let's go back there. Here it is. And where is, say, our admin users? So this one built a table of all the users in the system, and it would track like when the last time they had logged in was, or it might have been how many times they logged in, now that I'm looking at increment login right here. So this component, or sorry, this view data component, because that's what an aggregator is, had to subscribe to more than one category. There was the identity category that a user had registered, and there's these authentication messages for when the user logs in. Oh man, today's email. Sorry, I'm going to go on a tangent here. That's what I do. Come for the microservices, stay for the tangents. Today's email was about how to use Eventide to horizontally scale your consumers, which is a topic, not with Eventide, that we talked on briefly in the very last chapter. So this goes through how you would hook up the account component to be able to have more than one instance and actually scale what you're doing rather than just having two instances working on the same work. And part of that is position stream names. There's a consideration there. When you start a consumer in Eventide, you can supply an identifier, and that identifier becomes part of the stream name where the position is stored. So we talk about that here. And so what made me think of that, of course, if you want that, go to practicalmicroservices.com and sign up for the list. In the book, we use these UIDs for the subscriber ID because I had a silly way of constructing the position stream names, which, how did I do that again? Position. Was there an update? Position. No, it was right position. There we go. Subscriber stream name. Position event. Oh, there we go. That's what it was. Subscriber position is the category dash the subscriber ID. Anyway, whatever. We're not here to relitigate these past decisions. Anyway, yeah. So, want to know how to scale? Read that article. Where was I going with this? Right. So that's why we went back to the book code. So we were consuming from two different categories. We had two subscriptions running to do this. Isn't actually the point. The point I'm trying to make is like, we basically got an event and then we wrote an update query to the table, which, you know, big news. But it's like, it was very incremental. If you think about how projections work, we start with some known beginning state, which is the entity class when it's just been instantiated. and then we apply events to them. And we cache in memory what those are. The Eventide does that. The entity store will actually cache in memory a projection result. So until you restart, you'll fetch that cached entity, right? And then apply more events to it. And you can persist those if you want to. There's a way to do persistent snapshotting. We looked at that in, I think it was November's meetup. We did that with the composite video and device video component that we wrote. But it was always, so the way that I did view data generation aggregation in the book was like, we just had the row state in the table and then we took the event and applied it to it. So something that I want to do differently here to just get a feel for is what if the view data component had an entity store in it? And even in the user credentials aggregator example that we've done in the port of the book code, we were doing it that same old way. But this time we're going to actually have an entity store and project the event. And then what we write to the database will just be the result of that projection every time. So where that is slightly different is, suppose your aggregator, trying to banish the word, it takes some time. Suppose your view data component fell behind and now there are 10 or so events that it hasn't processed yet. When it finds the first one and projects the stream, it will include all 10 of those events into its projection. And so when we respond, when we process that first event, what we write will reflect all the ones that came after. So there will sort of be some wasted work in the process, if that makes sense. So I don't know, I want to do it this way to gain experience with it as well. So we will actually project the entity and then write it to the database rather than incrementally applying each event to the database. Now in practice, that will be mostly what happens unless we get a deluge of events, which we won't because this is just an experimental project. We will not have significant user load, let's say. Anyway, and then also use active record. I haven't done that before. It offends my sensibilities, but I'm going to give it a shot. And that's interesting because I've never used active record outside of Rails before. It's just a gem. You can use it in other contexts. And I certainly haven't used it in a view data component before. So that will be a neat experience for both of those. So that's what we're after right now. So let's go to code here. And this is the account component, I believe. Nope, this is the entirety of Eventide. I meant to do that in this one here. You know what? Sorry, we're going to do one more tangent real quick because I want to make such a meaningful contribution to open source right here. We found a typo in the docs yesterday. We're going to fix that and submit it as a PR. Because, you know, if you find things, contribute back. It's a good thing to do. So let's see. Fix typo is such a terrible name for a branch. That's what we're doing. Let's see what the issue is real quick. This is a big one. You're going to look at this and you're going to say, wow, this project is so much better off. Did I just close that? That's amazing. That little button right there. The X is so small, but somehow I managed to just nail it on the first shot. Let's see here. There we go. It says an error will be raised. And that probably should be in the past tense. It's typo that we're fixing. I don't know, fix typo, fix raised typo. Fine. Readme will be raised. Here's our change. Boom. The thing is, I subscribe very strongly to the idea that when you're working on a software project and suddenly it is no longer enjoyable to work on because it's so difficult to make any change. It didn't get that way probably because of a single bad decision. It's the accumulation of little things that makes it hard to do. And so I am not in any way saying that Eventide has several of these little accumulations. I'm just trying to develop the habit in myself that when I see a little thing, just fix it quick. It doesn't take that long. And if I would stop yapping, we'd probably already be done with it. So check out the diff here. This is just a readme change. Just double check the when using an object data source, the list of attributes to be copied must be specified or else an error will be raised. Pretty sure that's supposed to be past tense. So double checking that, that's good. This wouldn't change anything to do with the tests. So I see no value in running them again. That is literally the changes that one character. So git add, let's add it. Let's commit it and say verb, let's see, raise is changed to past tense. There we go. We are in the branch. Neat. So I'm trying to think, like, what's the flow with an open source project? You would need to fork it. Right. This was useless. I need to actually clone it from a fork, I think, because I doubt that I have push rights to push a branch to this. So hang on a sec. 1 second. Let's go here to Eventide, set attributes, and I'm going to put git log on the screen so that I have that beautiful commit message there. I'm not going to do this in the Eventide folder though. So let's see, git. Okay, wait a second. I'm going to switch back to the image of my face because I don't want to do this forking process on the screen because I have no idea what sensitive information would be leaked doing that. So let's go to Eventide, set attributes. Weird. The GitHub search didn't work, so narrating this. I just went to Google to search it. So let's see. Let's fork that. Should the owner be me? Yeah, I guess I'm doing it. So copy the master branch only. No. Do the whole thing. All right, that's running. It's done. I think at this point I feel comfortable switching back to the code screen. So let's grab that URL and then we'll clone set attributes, cd set attributes, and then get branch dash. No, my goodness, get checkout dash B. I've never had a problem with that before. And we were calling it fix raised typo. Nothing should be changed. All right, sorry. This is like, just trying to show the open source experience, the whole thing here. Get diff, cool. Commit, and then we have this banging commit message right here. Just grab that and put it in place like so. Great. Fix raised typo. Neat, it's there. So then let's just continue the open source process here. Let's do a pull request. Corrects a minor typo. Sweet. All right, that's there. We did it. Such a meaningful contribution to the open source world. No, I don't want to exit, but I do want to go back to my Eventide folder here. And then I need to correct something here, but I'll do that. I forget how to. Oh, no, it never went to master, so we can just say git checkout master and then get branch dash D fix typo. It's not fix raised typo. We We don't want to leave that kind of stuff just sitting around. Clutters things up. All right, let's open that because I'm sure we'll come back to it. All right, now we're on to the main event here. So, I believe in the exercise folder here, there are ways to open an account. Yeah, that command will do. That's just fine. All right, so let's open another pane here. And this is going to be our account list component. Yeah, let's call it that. And let's see. Put it there and then also do expanding Eventide examples. That should work as a place to put all this. And then I think I have the Eventide gem installed. I do. So we'll go EVT component account list. And that casing is all wrong, but I think the generator will handle it just fine. Yep, it did. Okay. I'm just looking to make sure that it followed the right casing conventions. It does a good job. I could have done that in, I think, even like camel case, and it would have snake cased it where it needed to be and kebab cased it where it needed to be. Oh, wait a second. Oh, I don't like this. No, it didn't work the way I intended. Okay, so you can't do kebab case there. Fine. This is the time to correct it. Let's see, rm-rf. And nope. I was already in the correct folder. RF account list component. And let's try that again. And I'll do it like that. There we go. That looks better to me. All right. It's all snake case there. That's what we wanted. All right, let me open these and such software expanding and account list component. Account list component. There we go, like so. And let's open this and just start coding. No, just kidding. Okay, so what we need to do is handle account events. So if we're going to do that, let's start with the test and go into automated. And I've got such mixed feelings about this database connection test that the generator makes, but whatever. Let's see. We're going to handle account events. And the event that we're going to handle is opened. Now in the component test, the way these were named was you'd have handle whatever events. And then, I mean, oftentimes there's nothing in the middle. It's just handle events or handle commands. And then there's a folder for the message that you're handling. And then a test file for the message you expect to produce, one for ignored when to make sure you're doing you have an idempotent handler, and then an expected version one for making sure you are concurrency safe. We're not producing another event here, but we do have the notion of ignored. Like if we get the event, we want to make sure that we are idempotent. And so that's another interesting thing about it. With the way that I did it in the book, where's an example? So upsert stream, that's fine. Right, so I just did this as an upsert. So as a message would come in, we would try to insert into streams. This is not the one I thought it was. I thought we were looking at this one. Okay, anyway. I don't know. We'd have these queries to apply changes to the rows. And so we had to have a column on there that would track what was the last position, the global position of the last event to affect the row. And in the case where we were subscribing to multiple streams to render an aggregated row, we had to have one of those columns per category that we were consuming. The way that we're approaching this here, where we're going to project the stream and write it, we could have such a column in there and all the queries would only process if the latest version was less than the message that we were handling. But if we're projecting the whole stream every time, hey, SB Ditto, welcome, welcome. Just reasoning through doing view data view data aggregation performed by a view data component. Just reasoning through that if we actually project the stream into an entity and then write that to the database, like mechanically, if we didn't put an idempotence check in there, what would happen? We would have some wasted queries. We would send a query to update a row to the state that it's already in. So the result would be correct, but it feels wrong to me. I'm deferring that decision until we get to that point. Anyway, the point being, so if we do it that way, then we would just need a test to handle the opened event. There wouldn't be other concerns to worry about. Yeah, let's just roll with this, and we can always change it if it doesn't make sense. We're just exploring possibilities here. So if that's the case, standard stuff to start out a test file. So we are in handle account events. We go up one level, that puts us to automated. So that is where we would find automated init. And just to make, oh, you know what's not going to work? Anything, because I haven't installed the gems yet. So let's go ahead and get that going. And we can see that beautiful pause on EVT messaging fixtures, which I can't imagine what fixtures is doing that it would be the cause of that pause. But I don't know. That rhymed. That was pretty cool. Ruby test automated. And of course, if I can't imagine anything, then it can't imagine anything. It can't be possible. So anyway, so we're doing handle account events, and we are handling the opened event. And I spelled do wrong. That all checks out. All right, cool. So what we need is our handler. So we can say handler equals handlers account events. Is that the typical pattern that we would do? I think so. Or it might be, no. So it'd be, yes, that's right, because handlers, and then we put a directory for the other component whose stuff we're consuming. Let me just validate that real quick, because it is so important that I just do this exactly how these other examples have it. Kind of jest, but it's good to standardize on things. Yes. Handlers account events. Neat. All right, so which pane were we in? Not that one, this one. Handlers account events. New. Neat. Okay, so that will fail. We don't have that handler defined. So let's go get it in place. Lib count component handlers ma count events JS. This is not we said aggregator again. This is a view data component. It won't handle commands, and it won't handle events either. Well, it handles events, but it doesn't have its own events that it handles. So we just have handlers accounts events. And let's make that. So this would be the account list component. Oh, I hit JS. Really, guy? Come on. All right, so let's see, module handlers, module account, module events, like so. Right, we cannot load such file. Oh, right, because I just deleted some files. Let's fix that. Let's see here. So those won't even be a thing because we're going to require something else to get that. Account list, projection store. It's not really an account list, the entity. We're projecting an account. Events. Yeah, thanks for calling that out. We will have, just to save the characters here, be conscientious. And then both of those will go away, but I don't want to retype that. So I'm just going to comment that out for right now. Because we're here, which I did not do the least amount of code necessary to move on. Have you explored using the Eventide view data library? I haven't. That, I believe, is the one where the events that you're consuming are converted into command messages that are extremely mechanical to be picked up by another component that just applies them to the database. I cannot wrap my head around like I get what it's doing mechanically, but I don't understand why to do that approach over a different one. So if any of that is incorrect, though, I'll go back and look at the library, but we'll probably explore it, though, as part of it, just not as the first pass is all. So what am I trying to do? Got that required. So let's see. I think the test should pass now. Even it's not asserting anything. It didn't. What did I do wrong here? So handlers. Oh, this says accounts. I don't want that to be accounts because it's not the accounts component. It's the account component. Now we pass. New. Oh, right. Because we haven't defined the class in here. And this wouldn't be module events. This would be class events. So there we go. Okay, back to passing. So that's neat. Another handler that is just included to your component. Oh, so you generate the command stream. Sorry, I forget the terminology, but you get an event, and in handling that event, you write a command that is a database instruction. And so the thing that handles those database instructions is, in that example, given as another handler consumer pair within the same component. Did I explain that properly? I'm not going to be able to get this out of my head. So let's see, Eventide view data. There's two of them. Okay, so that description you think matches. Do you know which of these two repositories is the one, or do you need both of them? This is probably the one. Kind of a very basic example, but not super familiar. Okay. So a consumer for the view data commands. So my data component. Okay. Oh, and then the library provides the handler that would consume all of those. Okay. Now I haven't done this, but because I saw it in a Git repo, I have to copy it exactly as it's written there. No, we will come back to this. We'll come back to this for sure. Commands the library used by the other. Oh, gotcha. Okay, fair. All right, let's get back to this real quick with the 5 minutes that remain. So we've got our handler. We would need to call the handler with a message. So to get that message, we need to get it opened. And we would get that from count client messages. Nope. Controls. Event opened.example, I believe. Now that, of course, will fail because we haven't pulled in the client gem there. So let's fix that. Here is a question that I have that's open. With a component here, you have the option of using either. Oh, I opened the wrong file. You can put dependencies in the gem spec, or you can put them in the gem file. And I don't know why you would pick one over the other. So, if anyone on this stream in the chat right now knows why you would pick one over the other, that would be lovely. Otherwise, I'll ask around about it. I'll ask about it in the Eventide Slack. So, anyway, oh wait, I know why you would. In this case, so that I can pull it from a local path. What is it called? Is it just account? And then give it a path, which I'm in expand Eventide examples. One more to my source, and then I have Eventide account component. I think it's like that. What is the gem spec name? File name up here. Account client. Okay, so that's the name of the gem. So I did this wrong. So this, I think, would need to be account client, like so. Let's try installing those gems again. Such software, Eventide, account component. Does not exist? Source. Oh, right. I didn't go up enough here. Like so. There we go. All right. Correct the path. The gem file can reference the gem spec. I don't know the nuances of why to put in one over the other, though. Yeah. If you want to do a local path like this, I don't think you can do that one in the gem spec. But if this were published to some gem host that we had access to, I don't think we would need to. So yeah, I'm not sure. I will ask about that and report back with what I find out. And so now then, I think this should fail because we're effectively passing nil to the handler on line 9. Nope, because you have to require it, silly. Okay, let's pull that in. So we could require accounts, I believe. No, yes, I think it's that. I love Ruby as a programming language. I do not like the way you pull things in with it. I very much prefer the very explicit nature that Node.js has, where it's very clear where things are coming from. And so you pull in a gem called account client, but the thing that you require is called account. And I don't know, I find that confusing. Maybe there's a mental model I'm missing that would make that make sense. What I know what happens is the gem wraps up a bunch of files, and then there becomes a folder in your gems directory called account client. And within there is whatever the files were that it bundled up. And in this particular case, I know that this gem has a folder called account in it. But it seems weird to me that I would have to know what the internal files of the gem are to be able to pull it in. It is what it is. Every language has its warts, and I can live with that because the other benefits far outweigh that. Pet peeve. Okay, what did I do wrong here? Cannot load such file account. Okay, well, it looks like I did that wrong. So I don't want to just start guessing. My inclination is to say account client, but I don't think that's right. Let me look up in my gems folder here. Didn't actually install it because what does it do? Does it do a symlink? How does it know to find it at all? Account / client. Oh, yeah, that's probably a good point. I like your thinking there. So we can actually go look at the source code. This folder. Yep. Account will find this folder here, but there's no file named account.rb that's installed with the gem. You are absolutely right, I'm pretty sure. Although I was pretty sure I had it right before, so take that for what it's worth. I think that will fix the issue. Well, it might have fixed the issue and now we just have a different problem. Undefined local variable or method deposit for main object. Got to pull up the armrest to brace my head to think on that one. I am thoroughly confused by that. So it says account component lib, account component load. What file is it trying to load? So it happened at commands deposit at line 36. Oh. You ready for the dumbest thing ever? So let's see. It's not, it's just a silly thing here. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so oftentimes on the stream, I will dork around with the files in my Eventide directory, and I type that line in there. I couldn't understand why there was a call to the helper in there and within the thing that defined it. So yeah, I typed that line in at some point to illustrate how you would use one of those command helpers. And I failed to delete it, but whatever. Okay, here we are. Okay, so account client controls is not correct. That's fine. We'll figure that out real quick. Let me open the test file back up. Wait, what am I in right now? Just going to navigate to it in nursery here. Account client controls is not right, so I forget how that gets renamespaced. So we open client, that loads, namespace. Are the controls? Oh no, they're there. We would need to load the controls, or does this load them? No, it doesn't. Okay, so we don't, I think we required the wrong thing. That's not even tmux there. Okay, so let's see. We will need this here at some point, but we don't need it right now. And I don't think the right place to require the controls would be in this file. So I think the right place to do that is in the test init. That's where we require our own controls. So we could say require account controls, I believe would be the right place. And then let's see if we can, I want it, that used to open things, but for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to be automated. Handle account events. The main, we'll definitely need both. The other one will need, I don't think we'll need the controls in the main loader of the view data component though. So this line here, oh, where'd you go? Sorry, let me finish typing this real quick. Open.rb. What on earth? Just hang on a second. Sorry, there's that. Let me open up that main loader file again. There. Okay, so this line right here at some point will get uncommented because we'll need the actual message definition to put into the handler code when we do the handle account messages opened and all that stuff. But the controls I don't think we need over in this file because I don't think there's anything in the actual operational component that would need the controls. And that's strictly a testing. However, let's have a look because we always do exactly what was done before. Test in it. This is funds transfer. Ha, I'm wrong. This is not where the controls are included there. Oh, in the controls file is where they do it in the funds transfer component. Then you don't have to require two things in the test init. And that makes sense because the controls from the account are necessary for the operation of this. So I'm gonna follow that real quick. So let's go to the controls folder. Oh wait, that's exactly what you said, SB Ditto. I'm sorry, I misread your thing. I misread your comment. That's exactly what you were telling me. I thought you were saying to put them in here. And you were not, in fact, saying that. So, okay, that still didn't work. Cannot load such file account controls. Is it client controls? I think it is. Come back up here. Lib account client controls. Yes, it's under the client folder, so that's where we would put it. Without the dot, preferably. What? No, don't say that. Cannot load account controls. Did I leave them in the test init? I did. Okay. Yeah, I've got to go delete that. Right here, and then we can get rid of that. Now I think this should work. Neat. But what crashed here? Account component messages. And again, you are correct, and I am not. Because the control... Well, I'm sorry. Yes, you're still correct and I'm incorrect, but this does need to be in right now because the controls are going to try to use the actual message definitions, and so we need to get those loaded as well. Ha, finally. That is what I was expecting, even though I didn't vocalize it because we have this class, but we haven't actually made it a message handler class, which will be pretty simple. Messaging handler, I think is what it is. And now it will complain about passing a nil message. Nope, because it's not messaging handler. Handle? There we go. Oh, we're not passing nil. We're not passing anything. So, okay, that's where I wanted to get it to. I'm sorry, SB Ditto. I need to read the chat message more closely. I was locked into trying to be all like strict about the TDD here, and I thought we didn't yet need the actual client included into or required into our code yet, but turns out we did because the controls use the actual messages as they should. So with that, gonna call it a day, and we will revisit this Tuesday. So it's great to have lots of work in process going at the same time. The more, the better. How am I justifying this? Phone typing isn't easy, and so it might not have been super clear. Fair. When I reread your message, though, it was, I think, clear. So I don't know. I'm going to put that on me not reading carefully. So, right. I don't like to normally do two things at once because both get done slower and with lower quality. But the overarching objective of this stream is not to ship product to customers. It is to explore interesting things. And so one of the considerations that I have to keep in mind is um, interest levels and such. So Thursdays are going to be expanding the Eventide examples and building out a more fleshed out system that uses them. And Monday, Wednesday, Friday will be the video tutorials port. Obviously, there are some days where I won't stream because of meeting people for lunch or other types of things. But that will be the default schedule. And then if I'm preparing for a meetup, which I'm going to have to because I'm presenting at the Utah JS. No, it's not the new Utah Node.js meetup anymore. It's Stack JS, I think is what it goes by. Anyway, I'm going to talk about idempotence there, and that'll be in the context of JavaScript stuff, which, I mean, idempotence doesn't change, but I'm going to try to give a talk somewhere without talking about messaging. That's going to be difficult. I do remember how HTTP servers work. So this will be a neat exercise. Anyway, thanks for coming today, everybody. SB Ditto, thanks again, as always, for your contributions. It really helps, especially when I read what you wrote. And with that, have a lovely day and happy coding.